All right, welcome everybody to another Members Night recap. We are coming back from our 6-month hiatus.
hmm
I'm Mischief. I'm a competitive laser tag player out of Loveland, Colorado, and I'm on tonight with Hymology PhD, a staff member at Loveland Laser Tag, who is
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
you play some Space Marines, but recently you've been playing a lot of Laserball, right?
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorite game modes as of right now.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really excited to just share this with the community that, mostly on this channel we've played Space Marines 5 and that's been what most of the
hmm
content has been around. And even the tournament scene has been centered around Space Marines 5, but
hmm
Laserforce came out with this game mode probably in the last year or two, I think. It's essentially
Yes.
laser tag soccer. And
hmm
the concept's really simple. You can go watch the briefing video that we made if you want to learn more about it. Basically, if you're blinking, you have the ball, and if you have the ball and you tag the enemy base, you score on their goal. And you can steal the ball and pass the ball and clear the ball. It's really cool.
hmm
But we as the Space Marines basically found out that the staff were having a whole in my mind, it was like an
hmm
underground laser ball league where y'all did a whole tournament and you got 16 players going or something. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's a really fun time. A lot of the staff members, like recently with some of the new hires that we've had, have really enjoyed this game mode, and it's kind of a way for us to kind of like outside of the workplace, kind of just have this game mode that we can all just like get together and have a good time with. Like we'll have like trash talk and stuff while we play, but
Mm,
that just comes naturally. But it's all fun and games, and we all have just a really, really good time with it.
that's awesome. Yeah, it's so funny to have all the Space Marines get into a room with the staff and then suddenly you
hmm
guys are the top dogs. We literally had a game where it was Josiah and myself were on a team with a couple staff, and you know, he and I are considered the best Space Marines from Loveland because we've been to all these tournaments and whatever.
hmm
And I think the other team was all staff, and you guys, were you on that team? I think you guys 9-0'd us.
Yeah, no. It was you, John, all of those guys like all together. It was basically all the Space Marines versus a lot of the staff members, and I think the biggest thing about the learning curve for you guys in that game was just how we play with our different rule set.
Mm-hmm.
Which for the people who are watching, Laserball has a bit of a different rule set compared to SM5 with like some of the like blind firing stuff and
Mm-hmm.
half wall rules, and there's a bunch of stuff that goes into that. Especially when it comes to like bases and such.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it comes to defending like your side of the base, it's definitely harder when people are like sitting at your base. So developing a rule set that kind of separates that out for people is really, really helpful.
Honestly, I'm gonna pull up the briefing video that John made.
Mhm.
And I think we should start with that before getting into this, just because so many people watching this may not even
Like know
know what
exactly
this
what it
game
is. Yeah.
is. Yeah. Because for the record, the rule set that we have as Space Marines, that's been developed over decades, and it has an
Yeah.
international committee. A bunch of people have been playing for a long time. I don't know if there's laser ball players out there who
I
have a
don't
scene for laser ball. Do you know?
I don't think that Laserball has caught the eye of like the more advanced Laserball players yet. It's definitely a more competitive game mode, which I like. It's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
SM5 in that way, where you can bring a lot of competitiveness into it. I definitely think that if we could start like a huge like Laserball league around the world, I definitely
Mm-hmm.
think like some of the like New Zealand players and some
Mm-hmm.
of those guys who are like farther away would definitely like start to get into this a lot, especially with how their arenas are built differently from ours.
Oh, for sure. The New Zealand players do love laser ball. There was a guy who
hmm
came out named Morange from New Zealand. He came to our duos tournament, and he was very keen, as they say in New Zealand, to play a lot of laser ball. We had a very successful team. So,
Yep.
anyways, this rule set is actually developed by you guys, by the staff. You got together
hmm
and decided how to make the game more fair in a competitive setting. So I
Yeah.
say we just roll the video and we can pause whenever you want to make commentary. But This video is made by John from Rapid Fire Competitive. Just an introduction here.
Welcome to Laserball 101. In this video, I will go over how to play Laserball, a fast-paced, intensive, team-based game mode. The goal? You want to score as many goals as you possibly can. Whoever has the most goals at the end of the game wins. In the event of a tie, stats will determine who wins. Now let's learn how to play Laserball. This game mode is played in rounds. At the beginning of each round, you must tag your base to activate your pack. If your pack is flashing, that means you have the ball. When you have the ball, your goal is to make it to the enemy base and tag it to score a goal. If the enemy has the ball, you can tag them to steal the ball for yourself. You can also pass the ball. To pass the ball, all you have to do is simply tag a teammate. In competitive play, you press and hold the special button on the left side of the phaser and then tag your teammate. Clearing is a good option to get the ball out of your own base. After stealing the ball, you can tag your own base and it'll pass the ball to a random teammate who is still active. Now let's go over some of the rules.
That is something I do want to touch on before we get into the big rule set.
Yeah, the passing?
Especially with the clearing and passing and all of that. I definitely think that in like some of the games that I've played, a lot of people don't take as much advantage of like clearing the ball as they should. A lot of players I definitely think who play really defensively always just try to steal the ball and then go for like these big huge plays where they just deactivate everybody, go in and score. But I'm going to be completely honest, it is 100% way more effective to clear the ball out of your base. If you steal it with somebody trying to push in, it's 100% much easier to clear the ball out of your base than to like do anything.
Yeah, as you can see here, if a player tags their own base when they have the ball, it'll instantly get given to a random player who's activated, right? It's random, as long as they're active. So it could be someone all the way across the field by the enemy goal, and that's pretty good.
Which
There's a lot of
I've had
strategy.
I've had a couple instances where me and Simply Okay, we would be playing together on the same team. We would be playing either blue side or red side. And most of the time he likes to play really, really defensively at like the start of the game. And I'm just a super like offensive. I like to consider myself a scout when it comes to Laserball, just because of how fast I can move around the first floor of the arena and just being able to hold those tight corners.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
it's definitely easier to like have him stay at base, steal the ball, clear it, and then I can just score pretty easily off of that.
Yeah, for sure.
It's very, if you can like really get it on lockdown, it's really, really effective.
Let's finish out the video because I think we're going to have plenty of time to talk about strategy. That's one of the cool highlights of this game that I definitely want to touch on later. The cool mixture of the barrier for entry and the fact that it's really strategic.
Now let's go over some of the rules. If there are any slanted walls, you are allowed to stick your phaser over them and tag players. However,
okay, there are some players from the SM5 community who are going to see this and they are going to like their butt cheeks are clenched real tight right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, the reason that we play the way we do in Space Marines 5 is because we're trying to win with positioning rather than by whipping our phaser around the wall. And it kind of has origins in some of the more primitive packs where, the sensors were harder to hit. Gen 8 is definitely easier to hit the phaser. But yeah, if I'm honest, I actually like this rule because showing a shoulder, showing a chest plate is super, it's not organic when you're in a gunfight, I don't want to show you my target.
Yeah, I don't want to like give myself out in a vulnerable place to where you can actually tag me when I can just simply use only my phaser. Yeah.
So far, as long as everyone is allowed to do this at the same time, I think it still allows for that mixture of positioning and speed. And as we're going to see in just a second here,
not allowed to stick your
obviously,
phaser.
Yeah, can't stick your phaser over spots they're not supposed to go over.
I remember there's a couple instances where we've had, especially with some of like our taller like people that we play with, especially closer to the like red side of the arena. There's this one place over by Portal where it's a really, really, it's so weird how that wall is, and it's just we can't really determine if it's a full wall or a half wall. So we've kind of just deemed it off limits at that point.
Sure.
And that's where this rule kind of came from, is for from our taller players who can see over those walls and can definitely profit off that a lot more than some of the other players.
Yeah, for sure.
Over. At each base, there will be certain zones dedicated by tape laying on the ground. If you are
this is
attacking
definitely
the base,
interesting
you can only
too.
be in the enemy zone for less than 10 seconds, and you must be actively moving. Defense can stay in their own zone for as long as they would like. Now suit up and get ready.
Okay, what do you think of that rule? How did that rule come about with the defensive zones?
So that originated, this was like very beginning of all of the staff members playing. A lot of the time when staff members were playing, it was very easy for like some of us faster scouts to just get into the base, tell everybody where everybody is, and you would just sit like in this spot. Actually, specifically, I know I have sat here several times where I would act like I'm just walking away before this rule was oriented, and then I would just rush back in and deactivate everybody again, and then I would just sit there and just keep recycling off of everybody and just getting those easy points and making sure the base was continuously clear. But that makes it really, really hard for the defensive side when everybody is like all scattered out everywhere and you're just constantly getting deactivated. It makes it very hard to play the game. But it doesn't talk about it in this video. There's a newer rule that we've added where let's say, for example, on blue side, let's say a red player gets deactivated coming in through blue cave and they exit through pencil. If somebody is sitting at pencil, the red player can say passing. They have to have both of their hands up and they have to walk all the way back to their base, which is an amazing rule. I think it is great to have oriented, because if you're just trying to get out of pencil and someone's just constantly tagging you down all the way to your base, it's not a fun time at all. And I definitely think that's a good rule oriented towards like making it more fair so that people can get all the way back to their base and then they can scatter back out.
Well, initially I see an issue with that for players who aren't the, like, you know, you're telling a player right next to you, I'm passing, right? That way they don't tag you. What about a player who comes in from a different angle and didn't hear you say that, and they're just, they see you, so they tag you, you know?
So that's kind of the part about that rule, which is a little funky that we're still working on. It's definitely like, for example, let's say somebody's defending at blue base, they tag them, and then they push through blue cave as you're going out through pencil, and then they tag you down. Unfortunately, with how the rule works currently, they still can tag you because they're coming at you from a different angle where you didn't just exit from. So it is still technically legal for them to tag you.
Yeah, that's, I think, part of the function of the trails in Space Marines 5. If I'm trying to leave, it makes it so, you can't just follow me and keep resetting me. But it allows for someone to make a play by tagging you, going around a different way than you, and getting the reset on you then. Yeah. You know, I'm sure there are going to be evolving rules in your game as you're still kind of figuring it out and do more tournaments and stuff. And I guarantee there are lots of people in the SM5 community who would respect your autonomy from our rule set and still have a lot of pretty good suggestions, I think, just from all the years and years of like trying to make SM5 a playable, fair game. Because I kind of like that you don't have trails. Just this is a different game from SM5. But we still need to make sure that people are able to play the game without being reset constantly. We go back
Resetting
to that problem where like
something.
7-year-olds are following you around the arena, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely playing this game in public lobbies where it's kind of just like the rules aren't as heavily oriented towards like how we play it competitively. It's definitely a change of pace when I'm trying to play in some like casual games here and there. And I'll just have like some like 12-year-old kid following me from behind, just constantly tagging me. And I'm just like, hey, man,
Classic.
I'm not having a good time. What's going on here? You know? But we're kind of trying to orient that into also like public games, which is where our like no following rule policy came into play. It's happened a lot. It's not even just in Laserball, but it definitely does help with the no following rule that we have in place just for every game mode.
So anyway, those are some new rules that the staff have implemented. Also, I want to point out, like, y'all did a really cool, a mod where you made it so you have to hold down the button to pass to another player.
Hold the special button.
That was
on the left
another
side of the
problem
phaser,
we were
and then tag.
having. Especially when, like, let's say your teammate's pushing in and you're trying to deactivate somebody. On several occasions, when we didn't have staff ball as an actual game mode, it made it very difficult for, like, you were trying to tag somebody else and then it would accidentally pass the ball to your teammate and then you're both dead and the ball's at your base and they score. So having that implemented kind of makes it easier and it helps you to know if you're actually passing or not. So yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out. That's really cool.
Mhm.
I think we're about done with the video.
Get ready for
It's
game
just
mode by
like, get
Laserforce.
ready.
Game-changing laser tag.
Oh yeah. Alright. Do you have any additional comments on this video before we get into the GoPro game?
I definitely think he touched on basically everything that we have set in place for as of rules. It's definitely a more fast-paced game mode, which I especially love. So
Yeah.
all right.
All right. So we have Daniel's as the player here, Hymology PhD with the GoPro.
One of my favorite cards to have.
Yeah, for sure. So are you really going with multiple cards where like you're putting the games on different cards?
So with this specific game, I this day I forgot my like actual card at home. I usually go by Sharkaboy when I'm not using Hymology. But Hymology and Sharkaboy are my two main cards that I usually use. Hymology I use more for like Laserball and public games and stuff like that. And then I use my other card for when I'm playing with staff members and stuff like that. So
Gotcha. Okay. Because after playing for 12 years, there were two other cards I had that both have about 60 games each, and now I really wish I had kept them on my one card, you know? Just because I'm trying to like collect and get on the top 100. But anyways, okay. So, sorry, I spoke over this first part. I want to rewind because like there's a whole opening phase. We had come in and asked you, okay, Daniel, where are we going? Like, what was going on here?
So the biggest part about Red Side that I do want to touch on is that Red Side definitely does have an advantage for this like beginning stage of the game. Because as you can see over here, we have White Ninja on the left side, and then we have Duckling on the right side. They're both going down Portal. Portal is a very, very amazing spot to go to. And then I had you go Pencil, if I remember correctly. I had you go Pencil for this first round. And then
Let's see.
I was going
I'm
Red
gonna...
Rock at the very beginning. Oh, I was gonna say, do you have like a photo of the map?
I got
That'd
the
be
map.
nice. Okay. Okay.
From Beautiful or Marco, who does a lot of the. If you need a link to this, let me know. Now this is an old map. It's
that's
probably
pretty
from
cool.
about 5
Okay.
years ago.
This is pretty accurate though.
Yeah, in general. So we're starting over here at red. Sorry, it's very slow.
No, you're all good.
When Daniel is talking about these areas, this is the portal on the right, and this is Pencil, where Little Snowflake slipped on a pencil and hurt himself during our West Coast 2022. So Daniel is kind of having two members go out to the right and two members go out to the left, and you kind of float the middle, right?
Yeah, no, I go this area that we're pointing out right here. This is called Red Rock. And as you can see, kind of like the rock is a little bit moved from where it is here. It's a little bit more back into the left, closer to this like wall right here.
Right.
Which, as you can see straight from this angle by itself, it gives you a straight like shot straight to where people would be coming straight out of blue side, and it gives you a great look to Pencil if there's a call out there. Then you got Red Cave, obviously. It's a very good like defensive position to definitely start out that round. So,
and for the record, the second and third floors are off limits in the Loveland Arena when playing Laserball, which is cool. It's like playing in an entirely new arena because when you only have first floor, all these areas change.
It makes you think so much more about like different areas that you can hide in and different areas you can peek out of and all these different new angles that you weren't thinking about when you're playing SM5 trying to take over third floor and have that control. And then you use really first floor as kind of that like last resort place.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway. So anyway, our team kind of spreads out. I think Duckling or Josiah was more keen on being the goalie, quote unquote. And there's no assigned roles in Laserball. It's every player can go back to the goal, every player can go out to attack, but it seems like a lot of times people say, I'm gonna play in this area, I'm gonna play in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And in that sense, we kind of have positions, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you're really just trying to control the mid area here. Ball's kind of going back and forth between the teams. Duckling cleared to mischief, so Josiah shot the base, and I got the ball while I was already back in the pencil area. And then just from behind, I think I shot a couple of them in the back and got in.
Yeah, the biggest part about positioning in this game mode is definitely trying to have like more of a knowing of where each player is and like how they like to play on the defensive side and where they want to push during offense.
Yeah, that's right. You're basically saying, oh, Strickva likes to go here, Azra likes to go there. Be ready for them, because it tells you on your phaser who gets the ball on the other team whenever you score.
Yeah. As you can definitely see, Fire Team does have that slight advantage at the beginning to where they can get straight into the base really, really quickly and always like go. And this is where we had a little bit more fun. I had swapped me and White Ninja. I was going to have him go Red Rock, and I was going to run at Portal because I knew that Dr. Underhand, he loves to run this Portal Rush.
Gotcha.
Which is what we like to call when like they have 2 or 3 players push Portal with them. It's called Portal Push. And it's just like, it's a really aggressive push to red side, because most of the time players on red side will only have like one person going towards Portal. And
That's interesting. So there's different plays that you see when you're playing Laserball. Like if a team gets the ball, they're like, we're either gonna all spread out. What are some of the tactics you normally see?
A lot of the time I definitely see it really depends on the team comp of who's on what team. But for this game, for the leaderboard, I want to say that Loki and Asra really want to stay at base more. They do not want to push. They're definitely using Strickva and Dr. Underhand as their more offensive players, which is not a bad idea. Having 2 on defense, 2 on offense is really, really strong. But for us, we were definitely playing more of a like a 3-1 in a sense, having Duckling stay at base a lot more.
Yeah, that's fair. Which it definitely was working this game. An advantage I saw was I thought we were able to get more control in general over the game, because we sort of controlled the 4 corners.
Yeah. The biggest part about this game mode is definitely having like that control out of that. You're trying to get that unpopulated area straight at the beginning so that you have room to work with and definitely push around the arena more.
These rounds can change really quickly. There's not, in Space Marines with the 15 minutes, you can kind of tell, okay, we're winning this game or we're losing this game. But in the individual rounds, it can flip on its head so quick. You might have 3 people pushing into the base, and then they steal the ball, and no one's on defense, and suddenly it's over.
Yeah. Another thing that is a really good point to point out is that when you're pushing the base, like if you have the ball, it is 100% like the best tactic to have somebody refrag off of you. which basically just means always have somebody with you when you're pushing the base. Don't try and push the
Right.
base alone. It is not a smart idea. You will get the ball stolen pretty much every single time.
Mm-hmm. I've seen it where if you get the ball stolen from you, the person behind you just tags the person that stole it from you, and then they have the ball.
Yeah. Which I really thought I got that goal right there. I
know.
did not see that player at like holding that pencil weird spot right there.
Azra got it last second.
Mm-hmm.
And there goes White Ninja, I think. Azra's calling out, team come get him, but I think everyone was basically just waiting for him to go in. Lots of guns pointed at the entrance there.
Yeah. There I had no idea where I got shot from, so I just called out mid because I hoped that's where they were.
You had an idea. He was either in the mid or he was way back at like portal.
Mm-hmm. Which I'm just gonna say, you were popping off this game. You started off the game with like 3 goals. They came back with 1. You hit them with another goal straight afterwards. Like you were playing really well.
Thank you. But that is not, you know, I'm not trying to just be humble, but like normally I like to play the portal or the pencil. I like to go around one of the sides because I'm definitely more of a shoot you in the back kind of player. I was just able to win trades or get in behind them at moments when they didn't really know I was coming in. But most times I play Laserball, someone's usually like at the bottom of pencil and they're screaming when I'm moving in. Communication is a shared element between SM5 and Laserball for sure. You guys invented some new callouts actually. What do you call that area outside the blue base?
Outside of blue base, which
right
side?
in front of you, on your left right now.
Oh, that's hollow.
Hollow, that's right.
Hollow, it's this little like indentation in the wall, where it's like this little like box where it has a half wall, which is where a lot of blue, like if you have a really strong blue base player.
Ooh, nice hits.
Yeah, I was just trying to clear the base.
Do we get the goal here?
When it's a really good spot to hold off. What is that
Dang,
called?
you just shot 5 people in a row there.
They keep getting those trades, which is so unfortunate. I really wish I hit those shots. But Hollow is like the best place to contest somebody who's sitting at Red Rock. Especially when you have a good player, like 2 good players going up against each other. Like I know there's a player by the name of Watson and then Ace. They are definitely 2 of our like more advanced staff member Laserball players.
Right.
And they go head to head at Red Rock and Hollow all the time. And I've talked with both of them about it like outside of games. And it was very like they're always 50-50. During this round, this was our like turtle round is what I think we called it.
Yeah,
we kind of just like turtled.
We agreed to turtle, yeah.
Kind of just try to play more defensively, try and not push up as much. But unfortunately, in the end, they got us.
Got in. Yeah.
Which it was a good goal. Don't get me wrong. Like they got all of us. They got in. But this is where I kind of show off that more scout mentality.
I'll let you talk because you were like, I'm going to take the ball and I'm going to score by myself.
Yeah, no, I literally just said, watch the pro do his work. And I literally pushed White Ninja away. I was like, let me go. So what I did there is at right here, what I did is I cleared that corner. Right, that's what I try to do with my head every time before I push in, as I always check that corner because somebody is always most of the time hiding in there.
Good job.
But the biggest thing about that like fire push is you just have to be strong when you're like you have to win your one-on-ones and you just have to push up as fast as possible.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely something I do in SM5. There's a I mean, in any laser tag game mode, there's an equal component of shooting people and not getting shot yourself. And when you run around the wall without looking first, you have no idea where they're sitting, waiting to shoot you.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was tough. The blue team put up a really good fight. I think having you was a pretty big advantage, just because you are you're probably the best Laserball player out of the 8 of us, which is it's not that you're bad, but I know you in the context of SM5, and it's like such a weird alternate reality when it's like, okay, Sharkavoy is at this certain tier in SM5, but he is like the top of the whole team in Laserball. It shows that this is a game that requires practice, and there's strategy and nuance to it that, frankly, us SM5 players could really stand to practice more, you know?
Yeah, definitely. One of the biggest things I do want to also say is when you are playing at any team, does not matter. The biggest thing you can do for your team, even if you don't have the ball or active, is just call out where players are so that your team is at least aware of where the enemy is. They can push in through different places. They can like actually strategize in their heads about like, okay, where am I going to push? When am I going to push? Sort of a mentality in that way.
Right. Yeah. I just started the video over again. I figure we could just talk about the game until whenever we're done.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's good.
The biggest, like another big thing about Laserball is like not, because I know a lot of the times when we play our staff ball games, and they're more bigger games. It's more like a 5-on-5 or a 6-on-6. The biggest thing about like playing with these, like if you're playing with a lot of people that you know, or you don't know even, the biggest thing you have to do is make sure that the team does not trash talk you into getting too angry. I had dealt with this problem a lot when I first started playing. They would start trash talking, and I would let my rage and my emotions just take over how I was playing. And I had Duckling actually give me like a really, really good like mentality of, hey, it's just a game. Win or lose, you still had a good time. You still learned a lot from who you played against, because you always play against a different team comp basically every time, which is the nice part. You're able to play against different teams and see the different ways that different players play together, and it really gives you a sense of how this game really works when it comes down to like who is where and why, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a competitive sport. You're always going to have people that are trying to smack talk you, even intentionally trying to get in your head, because that's a legitimate way to increase your chance of winning. But I find it to be unsportsmanlike. I'm just going to say it. And especially when you're playing a game that you're trying to grow the scene for, and you have a lot of people who are at risk of just being like, well, you guys are no fun to play with, I'm going to leave. I recommend against it. I mean, I talk about this in my hour 40 long video about how to permanently stop tilting. We get into the motives for why you're playing. Like, you could win and be a jerk, or you could win and be like the most liked person in the room and most supportive person in the room. It's like winning at 2 different goals at once. You are not only the most honorable person in the room, but you won without smack talk. I mean, that's a person everyone can look up to.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely staying on the more mature side and like being the bigger person and just playing the game to have fun instead of just trying to be the best of the best or anything like that. Which, don't get me wrong, everybody wants to be the best of the best, and everybody wants to be the like best player.
Of course.
But at the same time, there's also a learning curve that comes with that, and everybody goes at their own pace, and just being like a really supportive person like throughout playing the game can definitely help others build up that confidence to, you know, play the game more and try to outreach and ask for like advice on how to play and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So the format you guys have kind of decided for competitive play is 4v4, right? Or do you think that's still under observation?
That's kind of still under observation. I definitely think it depends on how many players are there that day. But most of the time it does come down to like being 4v4s, which a 4v4 is a really, really good way to like strategize your way around everything instead of just full blowing your way in and just being aggressive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're definitely viewing the arena in a different way. You're trying to stay more kept to yourself and like working harder that way, you know.
Mm-hmm. For my personal opinion, I really like 4. I'd probably keep it at 4. But the only thing I would change is maybe going to 5. I wouldn't go to 3 or 6. I don't think the first floor is big enough or small enough to support those games.
We've had 6v6s before, and they were a little hectic, but they weren't like really, really terrible. The cutoff that we've kind of decided on is like anything above 7 or even 7 itself is kind of that cutoff, because we tested this in a public game just to see how it would go. We decided, since there were not a lot of people there, it was during our LLT After Dark hours, and one of the staff members was like, hey, there's 20 people here, 10 on 10 Laserball. And we were like, let's see how this goes. It did not go well. Purely just off of the straight mechanic that you have to start at your base and tag your base. And with how many like points there are, like trying to tag the base, and how many points there are of contact on each person's like pack, it makes it so hectic to try and activate yourself at the beginning of those games. And it was just hectic, dude.
Yeah.
Like
which I think that's a genius mechanic, is getting everybody to have to tag your base to be activated. Just a great way to reset everybody every time. And yeah,
Definitely.
if you have too many people, you can't freaking like get your phaser in there. And I, once in a while, I'll just straight up miss and have to run back to my base, and I get a late start as a result.
One thing I do also want to add is that while I was playing with Josiah for this game, he was definitely giving me more of like an open eye on how I should be looking at like approaching the base and all of that stuff, where you don't have to necessarily be active to be effective, right? It's kind of that sense of like, you can, while you're deactivated, you can be walking around and you can like see where other people are, get yourself in like a safe position, and like make sure that everybody knows where everybody is, kind of being that like scout role. Even if you aren't actively trying to deactivate them, you're still actively letting people know where they're at.
For sure. I love that you keep referencing Scout, because when I play Laserball, it helps me to play Space Marines 5 better on the bottom floor. We treat bottom floor as this like panic zone that you're trying to get out of as quick as possible, but just getting to actually exist down here and utilize teamwork down here, I think really helps me as an SM5 player.
Definitely. I see. Yeah, it's really eye-opening, definitely, to see from like a different angle or like a different perspective of first floor, especially because a lot of people, again, as you said, use it as a last resort, or kind of like that safe like last resort place where you can sit your resupplies so that you're not like always like in constant trouble with like third and second floor and people pushing you constantly. And it's a really, really nice way to like view the game in that sense, and kind of get more of a ground rule like level of the entire first floor, kind of mapping it out in your brain better.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what else was I gonna say? I was gonna say something smart, I think.
That's me every single day.
And you guys allow running too. That's something to note. When you play, this is a game that you actually play with public reasonably often, and I know straight running like this isn't allowed in those situations, but that's another reason why you probably shouldn't have too many people playing in a game at the same time. If there's 7 on 7 and I'm trying to run in on the goal, it just
and there's
really
somebody
increases
like
the
in your lane.
likelihood. Yeah.
We've definitely had a couple of like problems with that where even when we're playing in these smaller games, we still have like those small injuries, or even we did have one big injury when it was just a lot of people running in a lot of different spots and somebody didn't check a corner and it's just bam. Um, but we've definitely like come down on like when you're running, you definitely have to like be safe when you're doing it because it's really easy to hurt yourself in an arena like this where there's a lot of like poles and walls and different like little things all around in the arena that are there to just stop you and like give it more obstacle.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So,
Man, as we're kind of wrapping up here,
mhm.
what I've wanted to say about Laserball as we've been going through,
Mhm.
we want to make SM5 like a watchable sport. That's been part of the goal of this YouTube channel. We want other Laserforce site owners to see this cool game mode in the international community and get their own member bases going, send out teams, host tournaments.
Mhm.
I'm this is so much more marketable than Space Marines 5. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah, definitely 100%. I think a lot of people will find the intensity and watching people run around just like trying to shoot each other with a flashing pack, and it's this whole like, oh, quote unquote like ball sport where it's a lot of people like it's what the way I like to describe it is like the quote unquote American viewing experience. Most of the time people will definitely tend to like watch more sport like things on TV when they're watching. Like dads on Sunday, they're always wanting to watch their football, and everybody always has like that one specific thing they want to always watch. And I definitely think it's definitely a lot marketable or more marketable than Space Marines.
Right. Because right now, no one's really. Laser tag is known as a birthday party activity for little kids. Let's just be honest. That's what
Yeah.
people think of when they think of laser tag. We know as Laser Force players, like I think we are like the only system that does all these really cool modded games. We're definitely like the highest tech when it comes to our equipment. There's a lot of other systems out there. Like, I'm not educated enough to talk about this. Like
Yeah.
Zone and Quest and other ones, but this is I would happily say this is the most technologically advanced tag that we have in the world. And this is an
Definitely.
esport. It looks just like an esport. It's a great combination of physical activity and special abilities and power-ups, and this could be totally viewable on TV someday.
Yeah. I've definitely also talked with a lot of different staff members about this, about like actually live streaming it and having like commentators who are commentating on the live game, which we've done in the past where we've like recorded a game. We've had people commentate over the game as it's happening, kind of like in those like intense moments in like a football game or a soccer game where it's like, oh, he's going in, it's a goal. And it's like a super like hype moment. And what we started allowing like people to do, like if somebody wants to take a break for a game, or if somebody just doesn't want to play that round, we'll have them sit on like the ramps, like at like switchback and pencil, like the top of pencil ramp and all of that, so that they can get a good view of each of the bases while they can like cheer on for their favorite teams. And we have people walk like around second floor so that they can watch where the ball goes. And we've gotten really big crowds for that. Like we've had a lot of people like actually come into the arena and like cheer for teams and like make noise, and it's a really, really like hype experience. Definitely. Like I've talked to like some players after those kinds of games, and they're definitely like, yeah, I felt really pumped to like have that audience there. Like it felt good to have like that reassurance of like, yeah, I'm playing good, you know? Like having those people just on the sidelines cheering you on is always just something everybody wants.
Yeah, seriously. I love that. I love when people get up on the second floor and they're just watching down cheering. Yeah, this has so much more this is so much potential, you know.
Mhm.
We know what it's
Definitely.
capable of. We know what Laserforce is and can be. It's just going to take time, and this is something that everyone knows what soccer is. So they can sit down and within 20 seconds get what's happening,
Like
which is
understand
unlike
how the game is kind of working. Yeah.
Space Marines. That's more of like a League of Legends situation where you got to get the
Yeah, where you
players
have
to be
to
the
like
ones who are
understand the
watching.
power-ups, understand everything. You have to know how each player is working, how they're supposed to be, how each role is supposed to be like playing, and
And this is more like
it can get
Rocket
a little
League.
complicated. Oh yeah, no, this is more Rocket League where ball equals goal equals hyperactivity, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of just like a more simple concept.
But both take an insane amount of talent to play at a high level, you know.
Oh, definitely 100%. Like I've watched even Space Marines tournaments like when I'm like at work, we have like TVs all around. And I remember one night on a Wednesday, it was Duckling and I think it was you as well who were playing in a New Zealand tournament recently.
Yeah.
And we were watching like the entire Space Marines crew was just watching you guys on the TV and just hyping you guys up, like hyping up the entire game, which it's an amazing thing to watch. Like even somebody watching it through a TV, they can still have that experience of like, wow, this is really cool. Which we've talked with the owner of like our location about possibly adding some cameras into the arena, so that when it comes to like doing all of that, it can be really, really cool.
Yeah, I would love if we could get cameras up in our own arena, because yeah, this made random people on the internet were able to come in and see this and be like, whoa, what is happening? Competitive laser tag? What?
Yeah.
And it means a
This
lot that you
is-
guys were watching us, you know.
Yeah, no, it was a really, really cool time of like actually watching all of these people get really hype over people playing like a game that they just so they enjoy so much and they dedicate their lives to, and they just like they learn the ins and outs of it. And I definitely think this is kind of the setup that we were like wanting to have, like to for this like Laserball stuff. Like you can even see like here off to the right, like there's actual people commenting about like how the game is going, right? They're like actually talking with other people in the community about this, which is an amazing experience. Like I've seen this happen for like video games and such, but I've never seen it for like an in-person thing. Like it's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. Man, maybe that's a good place to end with our hopes and dreams for what Laserball and
Laserball going competitive
and Space
around the
Marines could
world.
be.
The next big thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, any last thoughts, man?
No, not really. I really thank you for letting me talk about this really entertaining game mode that I love with a dying passion.
Dude, it was so great to have you on. Like, this is, for the record, part of why we renamed ourselves to Laserforce Loveland. It's not just Space Marines. This and any other game mode is up for grabs on this channel. And for all the staff that might be listening to this, just as someone who I'm a staff member for life, according to Jeff, but when I was actually working there throughout high school, like, it was so awesome that all the staff were playing on members' nights as well. And it brings me a lot of joy to see that you guys are getting into your own game. You're getting high on your own supply, you know? We as Space Marines support you, and I know 3 Space Marines that were already talking about forming a team of 4 if you guys do any kind of a league. We would love to come in, get our butts whooped, and learn about the game.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really fun experience. The other thing I've heard a lot from Space Marines too is like that whole blind fire thing that you guys always have to experience when you guys are playing Space Marines. It completely changes the way you guys have to play when you play Laserball and such. So I definitely get where you're coming from with all of that.
Yeah, there's just been a few times where somebody got me good with their what we'll call a pop shot, And I'm like, hey, you can't. Oh, right, you can.
You're like, hey, wait, you. Oh, wait, this isn't. Okay. It's. I've heard a lot of that from a lot of different people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely going to be a really fun experience, though. I look forward to definitely doing this more in the future. I would definitely want to bring some more experienced players to talk about the game as well from their points of view.
Oh, yeah.
So,
well, let's plan on doing that sometime when we get another GoPro game.
oh, yeah, definitely.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye.